Testing. All right. We ready? Yeah? All right. Make sure my mic is on. Oh, it's on too great. My name's Marcus. We're all going to be friends in the next 60 minutes. Have a good time. They talk about social media all the time, and I think it's interesting because, you know, you go to a conference, you talk about social media, and then oftentimes you have speakers that don't talk with the audience, which doesn't seem very social, does it, Isabel? Right? So we're going to have a great talk, at least you and I, for the next 60 minutes. Okay, so.
I need to adjust it for sure.
Good, brother. Make it how you want. You happy?
You're still not picking up.
Testing, 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 test, test. It's not on.
It's not on.
Is the bell pack?
Test, 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 test.
You're on.
Just a quick tip. If you ever speak somewhere, you turn on the microphone. You got it, Paul?
That's the first step.
All right.
You had one job.
Here we go. Y'all ready? Now we're ready. At least I hope we're ready. You good? Your this slide thing's not advancing anymore. I don't know what happened. Change it up. There we go. That worked. So I'm going to define this phrase for you, and then you're going to tell me the relationship between 70% and 0 moment of truth. You ready? Smartest person in the room is going to have the answer. Here we go. 0 moment of truth is the first time somebody actually contacts you, a potential customer. So they fill out a form on your website, they call you, they walk into your office, they walk into your retail store. It's the first moment that they say, hey, I think I might want to have a conversation. Welcome. What is your name?
Susan.
Susan. Front row seat. I'll give you a raincoat here in a minute. So, haven't been to Vegas, have you? You'll get there eventually, brother, with enough integrated marketing. Okay, so that's 0 moment of truth. The first time somebody calls you, contacts you, steps into your store and says, I think I might want to have a conversation with you. So who can tell me the relationship between 70% and 0 moment of truth? Anybody go?
They 70% don't reach it.
70% don't reach what specifically?
0 moment of truth.
The 0 moment of truth. I like it. What's your name, by the way?
Glory.
Glory? Lori. I like it, Lori. Good. Good. Keep guessing. Anybody else? Come on. Come on.
70% don't move past.
70% don't move past that. I like it, Rebecca. Good. Keep going. Anybody else? Come on. Yes, ma'am. Caitlin.
That is not the 0 moment of truth for 70% of people.
That is not the 0 moment of truth. Interesting. So this is what we know. This is what we know because the Google Lords have told us this, and of course the Google Lords are never wrong, are they? No. And that is, we know this. 70% on average, every industry around the world, I don't care what it is, I don't care what you sell, I don't care what you do, I don't care if you're a service, I don't care if you're a product, doesn't matter. On average, 70% of the buying decision is made before 0 moment of truth. 70% of the buying decision is made before they call you, before they contact you, before they walk into your store, before they say, hey, I think I want to have a conversation with you. So let's look at history for a second. Let's say we asked this question 10 years ago, and we said, what percentage of the buying decision was made before they actually talked to you, the company, 10 years ago? What do you think that percentage was? 30%. I agree with you, brother. What's your name?
Grant.
Grant. You better believe it's Grant. I like you, Grant. You sit back like you're cool. I'm digging it. I'm digging it. Okay. All right. So 30% he says 10 years ago. 5 years ago, what percentage do you think it was? I agree, 50%. So we went from 30% 10 years ago, 5% 5 years ago. Today we're at, 50% 5 years ago. Today we're at 70%. So the question is, and I think the question of the day, and I think the question for every business in the world right now, is what's it going to be in the next 5 to 10 years?
95.
We know what? We know it won't be below what number?
70.
70%. We're not going back, are we? And we're only going to move forward. Let's continue to analyze for a second. If this number is true, which department of a company has more impact on the actual sale of the thing, the service, the product, whatever it is? Is it the sales department or is it the marketing department? Marketing. Isn't that interesting? That being said, generally speaking, when a company is in trouble, which department is the first one that gets laid off?
Marketing.
Marketing makes you feel good, doesn't it, Rebecca? Like, what the heck? I'm in both. That's a good thing. You are in both, and so is everybody else. Good? Because that's where we're headed. That is where we're headed. Generally speaking, When a company is looking to grow the business, which department is the first one to get hired?
Sales.
Sales. Now you tell me, what's wrong with this picture?
A lot.
Yeah, a lot. Why are we doing it this way though, y'all? Why are we doing it this way?
Old school.
Because it's old school. Because we've been doing it how long, Grant?
Forever.
For as long as we've been doing business, pretty much. At least for 100 years. For 100 years. And I'm telling you, this is not the wave of the future. We've got to adjust. We've got to adjust. Oftentimes we say, okay, well if this number's true, we better have a great website. Love this question. So, if I asked you to define the phrase great website, just that phrase, using simple words, how would you define it? Anybody?
Interactive.
Okay, interactive. What does that mean, by the way? What does interactive mean?
Engaging.
Engaging to who?
Consumer.
To you, because all you care about is you. Let's be honest. And that's okay, Caitlin, because all I care about when I am searching for something is me. And what I don't care about is the actual company. And if a business remembers that, it changes the whole way they do their website, their design. What's funny is this. When you go to a website, are you more concerned about you, your problems, your issues, your concerns, your worries, or are you more concerned about that company you're visiting? You're more concerned about you, aren't you? Notwithstanding, 99% of all websites talk about themselves. As soon as you get there, they talk about themselves. Isn't that funny? That's where we are. That's where we are. And that has to change. Keep going. So interactive, because it's about you. What else defines great website to you? Come on.
Inbound.
Okay? It's funny, you can tell we're in a marketing crowd. Colin says inbound. It's like this website is so inbound. I feel happy today. I love the contents of this website, right? But if you break it down, let's say we weren't a bunch of marketers, Colin, all right? If we weren't a bunch of marketers and we're just people and we're saying what makes a great website, what makes a great website?
Easy and
It's easy because you want to do what, Paul?
I want to find what I'm.
I want to find what I want. And you want to find it
Quickly.
fast, quickly.
Simply.
By show of hands, how many of you have grown more impatient as you search for things online over the past few years? That's right. If you're not raising your hand, you are dead. Are you okay, sir? You all right? Okay, brother. Just checking. So, this is something that we have to consider every single day. We're growing more and more impatient. Everything is changing. It's really, really fascinating. Got a question for you. Tell me something that you buy very differently today than you did just a few years ago.
Everything.
Okay, food, good. What else? Books?
Detergent.
It's Tide detergent. That was specific, right? Okay, good. Okay, so Tide detergent. So you used to go to, I'm assuming, the grocery store. What's your name, by the way?
Susan.
Susan. You used to go to the grocery store, Susan, and today you do what?
Go on Amazon.
You go on Amazon, and why do you do that?
But I don't like to haul that stuff from home, and I can wait, and eventually I'm going to have a little thing on my washing machine that I can push, and it's going to come from Amazon.
Yes, yes, I like her. She's thinking ahead, isn't she? Right. And this is a woman, by the way, that loves to wash her clothes, okay, good. You and my wife need to talk because she has this resistance thing going on. I totally get it. She's telling me, she's like, I'm done with it. It's your job, completely. Totally get it. Okay, what else do you buy differently? Come on. Yes, sir? Gasoline. Oh, that's interesting. I've never heard that one, and I'm curious. Let me know. How do you buy differently?
I go in Gas Buddy before I go to the gas station. See if I get the best price.
Oh, what is that app? Gas Buddy. Gas Buddy app. Hey, you will get no value from my session, but you will get cheaper gas. Good. Okay. What else do you buy completely differently today? Come on. Cars. I like you. What's your name? Michelle. How do you buy a car differently today?
Instead of going to the dealer and letting them tell me about the car, I go read all about the cars I'm interested in.
Yes, this is so great. Michelle.
To the dealership.
I'm so down with you. So, Michelle, this is what's great about you. The car companies make me laugh. I just went to a huge car dealership in Canada, and basically I said, you're doing it all wrong. And here's the reason why they're doing it all wrong. They're doing it like they have been doing it, how long, Grant?
100 years.
100 years, brother. And so, what car dealerships do is, generally speaking, they build dealerships based on two main things. Does anybody know what that is? Where they build their dealerships? It's based on two things. Number one, it's based on traffic, okay, next to main highways. The second thing they base it on is what? Whenever you see a car dealership, you generally see another Car dealership. Because it used to be that when you were buying a car, you went to one dealership and then you went to another dealership across the street, and then you went to another one across the street because you were looking for the best deal. But today, you stopped looking for the, quote, best deal, because before you do that, you identify the actual car that you want. And once you've identified the car that you want, you identify the dealerships that have said car.
Yep.
But yet, these dealerships are still building on corners. Foolish. When I say this phrase, buy a used car, or sales, or used car salesman, what's the emotion you experience? Yeah. Nobody, I've been all over the world, and nobody ever says positive things about that. So what taught you to have a negative experience, Dave?
Walking into the guy with the paisley tie and the...
Walking into that guy that came to you and acted like he was your best friend the first second, right? Good, good. So let's be specific for a second. What's that?
Or as a woman, having somebody come up to you and acting like they know more about cars than you do.
Yes, because you don't like to feel what? Stupid. You don't like when people make you feel stupid. And today, you're usually more informed than the salesperson. That's exactly right, because the game has changed. And so, this is what's so great. When you buy, and let's analyze this for a second. When you buy a used car, specifically tell me your fears. Go. Okay, you want to make sure you're getting a good price. What's that? Maintenance. Okay, you want to make sure that you're not going to have a bunch of maintenance. History. Okay, in other words, you want to make sure you're not getting a lemon. So maintenance in history, similar. You want to make sure it's got a good history. You're not getting a lemon. Good. Anything else? What other fears do you have? We already mentioned a couple here that were about something specific.
Overpay.
Okay, you don't want to overpay. You want to make sure you're getting a good value. Good. What else? The number one fear that people have when buying a used car is what? You said it already. Yes, a used car, or even a new car. Generally speaking, who is in charge of the car buying process? Men or women?
Women are.
Women are. Good. Hey, if anybody just said men, I'm telling you, you guys that think you're in charge, you're totally not. You're totally not, okay? All right? The women are in charge of everything. We just are here to do whatever they say, and that's good. That's good. So generally, women are in charge of the buying process. I think it's beautiful. But the one thing that they hate, and pretty much all men hate, is when they go, you already said it, is the salesperson. In other words, they don't want to go through the haggle experience. Right. Do you realize that 99% of the world doesn't like to haggle? The 1% of you that do in this room, you're weird. You're weird, okay? That's right. And so, you ever heard of this company called CarMax? Yes. Yes. Okay, CarMax, love this company. Love this company. The reason why I'm showing you this truck right here on the screen is because that is the truck that I drove from my house in Virginia to Morgantown. And I own that truck because 2 years ago, my daughter came to me, she was 12 at the time. She said, "Dad, will you coach my softball team?" And of course, me not knowing anything about softball, I said, "Yes, of course, I would love to coach your team." And then quickly I realized that 12-year-old girls have lots of stuff. And of course, who carries all that stuff as the coach? That would be me. And if I didn't hurry up and get a pickup truck, then I was going to be in big trouble. So I literally decide one morning, I'm going to buy a pickup truck today. I go to one website called CarMax.com, and I quickly identify the car that I'm looking for, the features that I want, the pickup truck that I'm looking for. I identify where it is. It's in Virginia Beach. I call the Virginia Beach store. I say, "I want you to hold that truck for me." They say, "Okay." I drive to Virginia Beach, which is a couple hours away. I quickly test drive the vehicle, no others. I give them money, and I leave with the truck. And the whole process takes 7 hours. And I never looked at another vehicle. I never looked at another company. I never went to another website. And you tell me, how is that possible? How does that happen? How's it possible?
You have it all up front.
Trust. Who said that? You, sir. And that, Jim, is the business you are in. That is the business I am in. And that is the business every single person here is in. And if you really broke it down, we call it integrated communications, and we call it content marketing, we call it inbound, but really, what are we talking about? We're talking about trust. And that's why every business ultimately is the same. So let's look at what CarMax did. I love CarMax. They're outliers in their industry. The first thing they did 15 years ago when they really initiated this process is they introduced no haggle pricing. You can't go to CarMax and get $1 off. People don't even ask for $1 off. But you know, at the same time, even though you're not going to get $1 off, you're going to get a good what? You know you're going to get a good price, a good value, okay, based on everything else we're getting ready to talk about. Second thing they did, okay, that was the first decision they made as a company based on the fact that consumers didn't like to haggle. Unheard of at the time. Second thing they did is they offered a 5-day money-back guarantee on their vehicles. So they said you could bring that vehicle back 4 days from now, no questions asked. What fear does that eliminate? This is actually the second most common fear when people buy a used car. Buyer's remorse. Exactly right. Fear now eliminated from the picture. Third thing they did, they have a clean title guarantee and a CarMax quality certified guarantee. If you walk into a CarMax store, the first thing they do is they say, have you ever been here? You say, no. They say, let me show you, not our cars, but our inspection process by which cars have to qualify to be on that lot. Because less than 10% of the cars on that lot out there, less than 10% of the cars that we buy actually make it to that lot you see outside. And they literally show you this whole process because they want to eliminate what fear? History, lemon, I'm getting someone else's problems, etc. And then the other component about this online is they show you a bunch of photos. Here's what's interesting about the photos. They show you about 40 in this case. They show you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the reason why they show you the ugly is why? Trust. 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 Because every business has an elephant in the room. But you see, the problem is if you let people discover your elephants on their own, then you have a problem. If you own your elephants, then you just might be really, really successful. Own your elephants. Don't run from them. Embrace the thing. Don't act like you're for everybody, because you're not. The moment you say that you're not is the moment you empower your business and you'll start to get some serious fans. And because they did this, CarMax right now, here's what's so fascinating about them. CarMax right now sells thousands of cars a month without anyone actually test driving the vehicle. How is that possible that they could sell thousands of cars a month without anyone test driving the vehicle? How is it possible? Once again, it comes back to trust. Now, let's be hypothetical for a second. Let's say we backtrack 15 years. I came to you as a used car expert, salesperson guy, and you were a bunch of used car salespeople. And I said to you, I've got a great idea that can revolutionize our industry. This is what we're going to do. We're going to eliminate all this haggling of pricing and all this, let's get a great deal, and I'm going to talk to my manager. We're going to eliminate that because that's dumb. We're also going to offer a 5-day money-back guarantee on all of our vehicles. We're going to have an incredible inspection system so that nobody ever gets a lemon again, preferably. And if we do this, we're going to sell thousands of cars a month without anyone actually test driving the vehicle. What would you all have said to me?
No way.
You're crazy. And the reason why you said I was crazy is because it was new and it had never been done that way. That's right, Paul. Well, you see, my daddy did it this way, and my daddy's daddy did it this way, and it's been working for years. And that person is now the Kmart of his industry. It just is. It's just reality. I love Dad, but you can't do it like Daddy did, because it comes down to, if you look across the board right now, the companies that are breaking the rules, they're the most successful. When Zappos said free shipping, when they said free shipping, all the other shoe manufacturers, dealers, what did they say? They said you can't do that. At first, that won't work. It won't be profitable. And then it took off like crazy. And now, of course, what is every shoe company trying to do? The exact same thing Zappos did. Because they set the rules. CarMax set the rules of that space. I'm asking you, are you going to set the rules of your space, or are you going to be the follower of somebody else? Don't be the follower. Don't be the follower. And I have to ask this question. I've asked it literally in every presentation I've ever given in the last 5 years. Who is going to be the exception of everything I'm getting ready to tell you? There's two types of people, period, when it comes to learning stuff. You all go out and you talk, you teach, you sell, you present new ideas. There's two types of people that receive those ideas. First person says, yeah, okay, I could see how that might work in our industry. I could see how that might apply to my space. I could see how that might work with my company. And then the second person, they're the opposite. What do they say? That'll never work. And why not? Because it's never been done, and, well, you see, Marcus, that might have worked for you as a pool guy. We'll get to that in a minute. That might have worked for you as a pool guy, but you see, our company is different. Newsflash, guess what percentage of businesses in the world think they're different? 100%. 100%. And that's why the companies that don't sit there and expound on this, hey, we're so different, they are actually the most successful ones. I'm not saying that you don't have unique differentiators, but you don't sit there and say, well, you'll see our sales process is very special, very customized. Every company says that. We're all the same because ultimately our business is not B2B, B2C, or in Virginia they call it oftentimes in the DC area B2G, business to government. And they are a little bit different, but point being, don't be that person. If you want to be ultra successful with business today, don't put yourself in the corner of we're too big, we're too small, we're local, we're national, we're a product, we're a service, we're B2B, we're B2C. Don't be that person. If you're not that person, I promise you, you will open yourself up to a mountain of opportunities. Q can tell me what type of in-ground swimming pool this is. What's it made out of? Smartest person in the room?
Fiberglass.
Fiberglass. Colin knows my story, man. You cheated, but that's cool. You're still smart, okay? Good. So it's a fiberglass swimming pool, and that is one of roughly 1,000 or so fiberglass pools that my little company has done in the Virginia and Maryland area. You see, I started a company called River Pools and Spas in 2001, literally out of the back of a pickup truck. And things were going okay for our company until a particular date and number. What does that date and number represent? That was the, what? You said it, somebody said it. That's all right, the day of the market crash. Good or bad day for pool guys? Bad day for pool guys, because generally speaking, how do people get the money to buy a swimming pool? They borrow against the equity of their home. All right, a home equity line, a second mortgage, something like that. That's the masses. Okay, the other percentage actually just has it in savings. And so literally within 48 hours of this day, we had 5 people that had put down a deposit on an in-ground swimming pool. They withdrew their deposit and they said, sorry, we just don't have the confidence in the economy. We can't do this. We can't get a swimming pool. So we lost $250,000 in business in the course of 48 hours. And over the coming months, things started to get worse and worse and worse. By January of 2009, this is exactly where we were as a company. That was me on the back when I still had long hair. Now, we went to 3 business consultants. Every consultant said, Marcus, you need to file bankruptcy. Every single one. This was the most stressful time of my life, knowing that I had 60 employees, they were going to lose their jobs. I was going to lose my home. My 2 business partners were going to lose their home. We had to generate more traffic, more leads, more sales than we ever had. We had much less of a market now that could afford to get a pool. We had to do it quickly. And we had no money to do it with. That was our dilemma. And that's when we started to read about the internet. And that's when I started to read about all this inbound stuff, all this content stuff. And to me, the more I read about the internet, the more I thought about this simple philosophy that has changed my life, that changed River Pools, and has since been embraced by companies all over the world. Just so you know, today I'm not a pool guy. Today, I'm still a silent partner with River Pools, and we'll talk about how that went, where River Pools is today. But I have another company today which talks about marketing. That's why my Twitter handle is the Sales Lion. That's the name of my company today. Okay, just so you can distinguish the difference. As I was reading these things, I said to myself, okay, article and video that I'm reading here, what you're telling me is this. If I take the time to answer all the questions there are about, in my case, fiberglass swimming pools, and I do it on my website, and I do it through text, and I do it through video, I just might be successful. And if I do it more honestly, and if I do it more transparently than anybody else in my space, I just might be successful. And so, that's exactly what we did, which is the opposite of this right here. An ostrich, this is called ostrich marketing. They did not teach you that at WVU, they should have, okay? An ostrich, when it has a problem, what does it do? Sticks its head in the sand, and why does it do that? Because you won't see it. Because it thinks the problem will do what, Nathan? It'll go away. Does it ever go away? Nope. How How many of you actually work for a company or a business right now? Just so, don't be so shy. Don't be so shy, okay? Many of you raising your hand. Has there ever been a question where you said to yourself, you know what, we can't address that on our website? It's too, let's just not talk about that thing. Oh, I bet you there has. Can anybody think of one? Just a subject matter. Anybody? Anybody? By the way, I think it's funny that you're leaving the SeaWorld conversation and we're having this conversation now. It's really funny to me. Okay, did you have one? What was the name?
Ellen.
Ellen, did you have one?
Yeah, well, I mean, specifically, we work for a newspaper, and last year we integrated a paywall
Okay.
on our website, and we never really told our customers that this was happening.
Great, you integrated a paywall on your website. You didn't tell your customers because, and obviously when we don't talk about things, it means what? We have what? Fear. We have fear. That's what it means, okay? So you had a fear of what happening?
Losing subscribers.
Losing subscribers, but the fact that they didn't talk about it caused them to lose subscribers. Isn't that funny? And that's how it works. I'm telling you what, the ostrich never wins. We cannot bury our head in the sand in this day and age and think that we're going to engender more trust than anyone else in our space. Because if we do, it's almost like I'm walking into David's store, who's in DC. Give it up. I'm like, are you a Skins fan? I am, and it's painful. Second team is Pittsburgh for all these Morgantowners here. You can't help but to be if you go to WVU. It's pretty painful. Okay? So, it's almost like I walk into David's office and I say to you, David, I have a question. Could you answer it for me? And you say to me, sure, Marcus, I can answer that question, but I won't. What I need you to do is I need you to go down the street and talk to my competitor. He'll answer the question for you. And then when you're done, come on back and then you and I will have a great conversation. Sounds really silly, doesn't it? But yet, that is what's happening every single day online. In fact, where it happens the most is on 5 major subjects, okay? Here's the 5 subjects that drive the conversation of business in every industry in the world. By this point, my marketing company, we've consulted with businesses and brands in a crazy, eclectic, all over the place. And for everyone, these are the subjects that move the needle. For buyers, consumers, notwithstanding, these are the subjects that businesses don't want to talk about. And we're going to talk about them right now. Let's talk about money first because it's so fun. Now, I need everybody's help. By a show of hands, how many of you have researched how much something cost online over the past year? By a show of hands. That's right. This time everybody raised their hand. Isn't that funny? Okay, good, good. So, when you are on that website and you cannot find anything about cost and price, what is the emotion you experience? Frustration. Frustration. I knew you were going to say that. That's the F word of the internet. What gives you the right to feel frustrated, Becky?
Because they should be providing it.
Because they should be providing it because you are the
consumer.
I am the consumer, and it's my right to know these things, isn't it? It's my right to know these things. So, Becky, in that moment of frustration, do you say to yourself, that's okay that they're not telling me. I'm sure it's here somewhere. I'll just keep digging on the website. She looked at me like I was stupid, like I was insulting her intelligence there, because she doesn't do that, does she?
Leave the site.
So she leaves the site. Do you say to yourself, well, that's okay. They're a value-based business. I will call them instead.
Not unless there's been ridiculous word of mouth and how great.
That's right. She doesn't. She may have a couple years ago, but she stopped doing that as well. She doesn't keep digging. She doesn't call them. She keeps doing what?
Searching.
Searching. And she searches until what happens? She finds the answer. And whoever gives her that answer, they are the ones that are going to get what? The business, or at least the 0 moment of truth. That first contact, that first conversation. That is the reality for every single person in this room. But here's the real reason why we get so frustrated in this moment. You get frustrated, I get frustrated. Because as you're on that website and you're looking around, you can't find that answer. You know that they know what? The price, the answer. And because you know they know the answer and they're not giving it to you, you now feel like they are doing what? Shady, shady, shady. I like that. Yeah, you had that like a passionate groove about that one. Yeah, shady, shady, shady. What's your name, by the way?
Stephanie.
Stephanie. And because you feel that, you now feel like they are hiding something from you. And the moment, Stephanie, you feel like anybody online is hiding something from you, what happens?
Your filter goes up.
It's gone. Trust is gone. That is the essence of business today. That's the essence of the way we behave as consumers. Now, I already asked you how many of you were in business. So, by a show of hands, how many of you talk a lot about cost and price of your services and products on your website? Go ahead and raise your hand. This is very interesting. we had 15% of the room raise their hand. Before, almost everybody raised their hand. Now almost nobody raised their hand. It's fascinating. Lori has a question. Hold the thought just for a second.
Okay.
Hold the thought, because I like what's happening in your mind right now. This is really fun. So let's analyze together. 60 seconds, we all said, it's my right to know. I get frustrated. And then 60 seconds after that, 80% of the room said, well, but you see, Marcus, we're different. Isn't that funny, Chris? It's funny, isn't it? So explain. Who didn't raise their hand? You, sir. You look like a confident fella.
I did not raise my hand, that's correct.
So, you have a business.
No.
Well, dang, that don't help me any.
That's why I didn't raise my hand.
Do you work for somebody? Or are you just here for the beer?
I'm retired, so I have no business at all. So.
Oh, you have a business. It's called fishing.
There you go.
And I hope to be there one of these days. All right, who else? Who else did not raise their hand? Okay, Lori, I'll pick on you because this is like percolating so much in your head right now. So, you don't talk about it on your website right now. Please help me understand why.
So I own a boutique marketing and PR firm in Fort Lauderdale.
Good.
And the other firms, specifically 5 years ago when I started the company,
Yeah.
I called a good friend who owned another firm, and because I had no idea how to price, that was something I
Yeah.
didn't know. I never worked for a firm.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't tell me. So immediately I started looking at all the other sites. No one puts their price.
Yeah,
So
right.
I feel like, but then now I'm thinking.
See, this is great. Wait. What's happening right now, she's having a civil war in her head, right? And so what she's experiencing is she knows that she expects to be treated one way. She knows also that she treats her customers differently. She knows that if we're being totally honest with ourselves, and we're in WVU, so we can be honest with ourselves, and that is, if she expects one thing as a consumer, delivers another thing as a business, that makes her, and this is not, I'm not picking on you right now, Lori, but this is everybody that does this. This is 90-something% of the business in the world. That makes her what? A hypocrite. Right. And that's not a knock, but that's reality. That's reality. Because if we look at this, just because nobody else does it doesn't make it right.
Right.
Now, the problem is, you're seeing this as, Marcus, I have to put my prices. We're missing, there's two reasons why you say I can't do this. Number one, my competitors. Number two, I'm going to scare people away. That's what you're thinking in your head. Number one, my competitors. Number two, I'm going to scare people away. But what we just defined, Lori, is what scares people away is not doing it. And furthermore, is it possible, and if you go around to most businesses, at this point, you actually know what your competitors charge.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Ha ha ha! You know what they charge. And if they've ever gone up against you, they also know what you charge. And so now what we've established is you know what they charge, they know what you charge, but at the same time you're saying I can't do it because my competitors will find out what I'm charging. Exactly. It's crazy, isn't it? And she's like, wow, this is so weird. It's like I'm watching an episode of The Mentalist. I know, it's really weird. It's really weird. Okay, so let's analyze this together. How much does a fiberglass pool cost?
$25,000.
$25,000? If you get the lowest end, could it cost, it's okay, there's still a chance, Lori, there's still a chance, okay? Could it cost $250,000?
Yeah.
Could it cost everything in between?
Yeah.
So the answer to the question actually is, it depends, doesn't it? And if I asked you, Lori, how much is your service, the answer is actually, go ahead and say it, I already gave you the answer, you can't miss it.
Yeah, anything.
Anything, it depends, doesn't it? And so when we embrace this philosophy of they ask, you answer, the first article we ever wrote on our website was how much does a fiberglass pool cost? And we said, you know what, it's kind of like buying a car. There's a lot of options, there's a lot of accessories. Here's all the options and accessories that could dictate where you fall in this pricing order. We also put some really, really big ranges in there. But ultimately, we said the answer to your question is, it depends. But because we're willing to say it depends, let's look at it just from a search perspective. We'll look at it from a consumer side here too. Because we were willing to say it depends, what did our friend Google do?
Loved you for saying
They loved us, Stephanie, didn't they? They loved us. And they said, finally, somebody's willing to address this stupid question that people keep typing in my little rectangular box all day long, and no pool guys want to answer, right? And so we actually addressed the thing, and within the next 48 hours, from a search perspective, if you go online right now on your little pretty phone, and you type in any of these phrases, it's going to be the first thing that you see. Now, that's just traffic. Traffic means nothing without revenue, right? So let's go even further. because we started getting these visitors, we now can look at some really deep analytics. Now, I'm not going to get too technical today, but this is way too important to miss. Here's a list of the number one phrases that generated the most traffic to our website from March of 2009 to June of 2012. So these were the number one phrases that generated the most traffic. The ones in red are coming from that article. So for example, 13,000 people went to Google, typed in the phrase fiberglass pool prices. 30 of those people filled out a form and said, I want to get a quote from you. Okay, 30 of them. Cost of fiberglass pool, 7,000 typed it in. 27 of those people said, I want to get a quote from you. There's roughly 200 sales appointments on the page right now from those red arrows that you're seeing. Question, this is very important. Of those 200 plus sales appointments, how many actually occur if we never write that article? Like 0 to maybe 5 if we had a few stumblers. And why would we have never had those sales appointments? Because they never would have shown up. We never would have started the conversation. They never would have started to trust us. They never would have filled out the form. But they did fill out that form. And we do know their names. And we do know which one's bought. And because we do know which one's bought, and we know the value of each one of their individual pools, we know the value of this one single article, we know, you see, you can track. And if you're not tracking like this as a marketer, you'll never get a raise. Show your value. Track stuff. Use advanced analytics. I'm telling you, Google Analytics is not enough. I don't care what you use. I don't care if it's Marketo, HubSpot. You go down the list, Pardot. I could go on all day about advanced analytics, but you've got to do something if you want to show your value as a marketer to the company. But because we did this and because we wrote this article, this one single article has made us over $2.5 million in sales. One single article saved my business, saved my home from being foreclosed on. Saved the jobs of my 16 employees. And by the way, did we ever say how much a fiberglass pool costs? No. Ain't that some junk? All right. Now, based on that, is it possible, Lori, that you talk about cost and price on your website?
Is it possible?
Yes.
I'm going to do it.
I know you're going to do it because I can see you you're already starting on the article over there. That's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. And if you do this, Lori, if you do this, a couple things are going to happen. Your lead quality is going to be great. I'm not going to go too far into detail, but I will tell you this. I would at least, if you can say it depends. You can say what drives it up and down, but I would at least put your floor. Because if you at least put your floor, you're not going to get the people that you're clearly not a good fit for. Do you see what I'm saying? Like most people say, I'll take on a consulting project, but I don't want anything less than $2,500. Good. Fine, but at least put the floor. Does that make sense, everybody? Does that make sense? Okay, good. Good. Let's look at another one real quick. Problems. So, be hypothetical. Let's say I meet with Dave. Back when I was still a pool guy, Dave thinks he wants to get a fiberglass pool from Marcus, but to keep him honest, he meets with Paul, the concrete pool guy. And Paul, the concrete pool guy, as soon as he finds out that Dave met with Marcus, the fiberglass pool guy, what's he going to say about my pools?
You don't want to go with him.
You don't want to go with him because his fiberglass pools? That's right, they suck. They suck. And why do they suck? Because they're not long enough. They're not deep enough. They're not wide enough. I mean, Dave, it's not even a real pool. It's like a bathtub in your yard. Why would you consider that? I mean, I'm telling you, we work on these things all the time. Fiberglass pools have nothing but problems. And if you get that fiberglass pool, you're going to have nothing but problems, Dave. Now, a minute ago, Dave loved me. And he loved my pool. So now he's freaked out. And specifically, he's freaked out about what? Problems with fiberglass pools. So what's he going to do next? Is he going to go talk to his preacher?
Only if he has a fiberglass.
No, he ain't going to go. Is he going to go to his best friend? Where's he going to go? He's going to go to the internet. And specifically, he's going to search problems with fiberglass pools. Problems with fiberglass pools. And over the years, how many times had somebody said to me, okay, Marcus, be honest, what are the potential problems with the fiberglass pool? How many times do you think somebody asked me that question? Over and over again. And 6 years ago, how many pool guys had addressed that question, just like cost and price on their website? How many had addressed that question? None. Because they're afraid to address the elephant in the room. So we wrote about it. And we said, you know what? Buying a fiberglass pool might not be the best option for you. They don't get wider than 16 feet. They don't get longer than 40 feet. They don't get deeper than 8 feet. We don't have any shape or size. We have certain shapes or sizes. But if you're looking for a low maintenance pool that's less than 16 by 40, less than 8 feet deep, and we have a shape that fits your needs, and you want it to last a lifetime, it might be a great choice for you. And because we wrote that article, once again, we already know what Google said, but let's look at the results. Here's the results. Here's the #1 phrases that generated the most sales appointments for our company over the course of 2 years. Now, if you look at the #1 phrase, it was river pools and spas with 56 sales appointments, but I don't really count that one because those people, when they went online, they knew who they were looking for. The rest of the people that you see, they didn't know who they were looking for, they just knew that they had a question. So the #1 phrase that generated the most sales appointments over the course of 2 years was? Problems with fiberglass pools. How is it possible that talking about the problems with your stuff could, in this case, generate $500,000 in sales? Trust again. Because nobody was doing it. You own the conversation. Look, you have a choice. You can own the conversation. Or you can allow your competitor to own it for you. But know this, somebody will. Somebody will. It may as well be you. At least, that's my opinion. Let's look at another one, comparisons. Now, a minute ago, let's say that Dave liked my fiberglass pools, but he also liked Paul's concrete pools. What's he going to go search online?
Problems with concrete pools.
Which is better?
Fiberglass versus concrete, which is better? Now, over the years, how many times do you think somebody had asked me, okay, Marcus, be honest. What's the difference between a concrete or a fiberglass pool? Or Marcus, be honest, why should I go with fiberglass? How many times had somebody asked me that question? Almost every time. How many pool guys had addressed that on their website? None. Why not? Do you see the same patterns occurring over and over again? What's important is, what I'm talking about right now, does this have anything to do with swimming pools? No. Because if I went down the list in your industry, I could tell you how people are asking these exact same questions. Exact same questions. And he or she that is willing to address the thing, they're going to engender the most trust. They will become that trust agent of their space. And the ones that don't, won't. And it's so very simple. And so we wrote concrete versus fiberglass versus vinyl liner pools, an honest comparison. And it was honest. And we came right out and told people that a fiberglass pool might not be for you, and we told them why. Because we did that, what happened? If you go online today and you research any type of in-ground pool comparison, once again, you're going to see what we said. One last one for you. Have you ever been asked before, any of you that are in sales, that are in business in any type, any shape, any form, have you ever been asked, we like you, we really, really do, but if we don't use your company, is there anyone else that you would recommend? You ever been asked that question? Nah. You've been asked, Lori. You immediately shook your head yes. And that's a good sign, because literally the only reason why somebody would ask you that question is because they trust you enough to ask, because they believe you might actually give them the answer. Now, most companies, when they get that question, how do they respond? Now, this is where we all fall off the tracks, because we act like we either don't know or we send them to the worst company in the whole wide world, right? Either one is not very good, is it? It's not very good, not very good. So, instead of doing that, we've got to think differently. We embrace honesty, we embrace transparency, we own the conversation. So one night I was in Richmond, Virginia. This is when I was still a pool guy, like 4 or 5 years ago. And I met with a couple for about 2 hours. And at the end of that 2.5 hours, the lady says to me, Marcus, we really like you. And we think we might want to get the pool from you. But if we don't get the pool from you, is there anybody else that you would recommend? I hate this question. And so, obviously, she didn't buy a pool that night because she was still shopping. And as I was driving home, I thought to myself, well, she asked me a question, which means I have to answer it, because that's my philosophy. And so I went home and I wrote this article right here. Who are the best pool builders in Richmond, Virginia? Review/ratings. Now, I came up with a list of the best 5, in our opinion, of the best pool builders in Richmond, Virginia. Keep in mind, this is a major hotbed. This is a major area for our company. Am I on that list of 5, yes or no? Some say yes, some say no. Why do you say no? Because I wrote it, and if I wrote it, and if I put myself on a best of list of anything, what's going to happen? It's going to sound biased. I'm going to lose trust. And once again, that's why we're here. So no, I didn't put myself on that list. Now some of you are saying that's really weird and crazy, and I don't think I would ever do that. So let's analyze it together. Let's say, Mike, that you have just moved to Richmond, Virginia. You know you want to get a swimming pool, and you go online right now and you look for the best pool builders in Richmond, Virginia. Okay? That's the first thing that you do, which is a very common behavior, by the way. You stumble across this article. Now, you don't know who's writing this article. You just know you start reading it because it answers your question so well. You tell me and everybody else, we're going to read these first 2 paragraphs together. I want you to tell me your impression of this company. Are you ready? Here we go. Each year, we at River Pools and Spas meet with well over 100 households in the Central Virginia, Richmond area with respect to their in-ground swimming pool installation. And because so many folks know our thoughts and feelings from this website on all things pool construction, they often ask us, who are some of the other builders and competitors we have in the area? Never once to shy away from being blatantly honest with respect to the competition, here's a list of some of the companies that have a solid in-ground pool building history in the Richmond area. Now, what's your impression of this company right now?
Your thought leader.
They're a thought leader. Do you feel like they're honest?
Yes.
Do you feel like they are an expert? Did they say they are an expert?
No.
But you feel it, and why? Why do you feel that, Stephanie?
Because you said your experience.
Yeah, so you know 100 people come to us every year and trust us in their home, and plus we're actually addressing the thing. And so, what's the end result of something like this? Well, of course, if you go online right now on your little phone and you type in Best Pool Builders Richmond, Virginia, this is the first one you're going to see, but that's not what's so cool. Let's be hypothetical. Let's say you don't even know who River Pools is. You don't know they exist. You go online and you type in reviews Playmore Pools, which is our main competitor in Richmond, Virginia. Reviews Playmore Pools, Richmond, Virginia. Once you get past the ad, the sponsored search that nobody's going to click on anyway, the first one that you see in organic search results is our article. And that's why today, if you research and vet any of our competitors, you're going to come to my home and you're going to read what we have to say. And by the way, do we ever say anything negative about anybody? No. Never. Because it doesn't serve anybody. It just doesn't help the conversation. We just talk the facts. I had a lady come to me a couple years ago. She said, Marcus, the most interesting thing happened. I was this close to signing a contract with Playmore Pools. And before I signed that contract, I decided to go online and vet the company. And as I was online researching their company, I stumbled across this article that you guys had written. I said, my goodness, these guys are so honest, I should probably call them too. And of course, you know what happened, don't you? Because otherwise it wouldn't be a good story. That article that year made us $150,000 in sales. Now some of you still are saying to yourselves, well, Marcus, aren't you afraid that you've now introduced them to the competition? Seriously? Seriously? If somebody wants to know who your competitors are, roughly, how long does it take them to figure it out? Yeah, like seconds, if they're slow. If they're slow. And so this is what I know, and I know this with the utmost certainty, that consumer ignorance is no longer a viable sales and marketing strategy, and you need to let it go if you're still holding on to it. Consumer ignorance is no longer a viable sales and marketing strategy. If you are counting on them not finding out about the thing, not hearing about the other option, not talking to the other competitor, you're already way behind the game. Embrace the idea that they've already talked, that they've already learned, that they already have other options. And the moment you embrace that idea is the moment it changes. We've had multi-million-dollar companies follow this exact same philosophy with incredible success. I could literally, and I'm only showing you the River Pool story today because we don't have time for other examples, and this is one that anybody can relate to. I could go down the list. For us, 70% of our clients are service-based B2B businesses. We do this exact same thing. They ask you, answer doesn't change. Because at the end of every conversation, there's another person. They have questions, fears, worries, concerns, and issues. The battle is, can you answer them? And more honestly and transparently than anyone else. Real quick, what time is it? Anybody know? 52?
Yeah.
Daggone, we have like 8 minutes left, and I debated as to if I would be able to have this one last segment. We'll have it after this slide. Because we started this is the traffic for river pools, and this is where we started in February 2009 when we implemented They Ask You Answer. We were getting 2,000 visitors a month. And the green, by the way, is organic search traffic. The red is pay-per-click. So the company mainly was just using pay-per-click, and we were hemorrhaging money with Google AdWords pay-per-click at first. And so we embraced They Ask You Answer with videos and articles that we put on our website, of course in the blog, other sections and pages. We barely made it through that first year. I mean, just enough we got by. The second year we started to get major momentum. By last year, which was essentially the 6th year, it blew up. And in fact, in July of last year, we got 370,000 visitors to our site. This month, we've already passed 370,000 visitors. This July, we'll surpass 500,000 visitors easily. Today, we're the most trafficked swimming pool website in the world. And the river pool story has been featured in books and publications literally all over the world. And it's only been featured because it's so stupidly simple. The little pool company says, we're going to answer their questions. Now, because I got 5 minutes left, I got to tell you this one little thing. On average, how many pages of your website would a potential client, customer, be willing to read? On average? 3. Everybody says 2 to 3. I don't care the industry, 2 to 3. How long does it take to read 2 to 3 pages of a website?
More time than I have.
Well, what? Hold those thoughts, Deb. Hold those thoughts. How long does it take to read 2 to 3 pages?
2 minutes.
Okay, we'll say 5. So I'm going to rephrase the question. Is doing business with you and engaging your company worth more or less than 5 minutes of my time?
More.
Now all of a sudden everybody says, well, I would hope more. I'm here to say that we grossly underestimate the willingness of people to use great information to become comfortable with the buying decision. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This number 30. At the beginning of 2012, I was comparing 2 groups of people on my website. Now, this is really interesting, so try to stay with me. The first group, by the way, both had filled out a form and said, I want to get a quote. The first group filled out the form, said, I want to get a quote, had the sales appointment, they never ended up buying. The second group fills out a form, says, I want to get a quote, they end up buying. And as I'm comparing these 2 groups, the non-buyers versus the buyers, the number 30 just jumps out underneath this group right here. What do you think that number 30 represented?
Seconds on site.
You say seconds on site? Keep going. Articles close. Number of pages, what's your name? Amanda, good. It represented number of pages read. This was the stat, and this stat, once again, totally shifted my whole mindset, changed my life about business. And that is, if someone read 30 or more pages of our website before the initial sales appointment, they would buy 80% of the time. Average closing rate, 20% for the industry. They read 30 pages or more, they're going to buy 80% of the time. What was happening over the course of those 30 pages?
Earning the trust.
That's right. They were earning our trust because we were educating them. And the education led to the trust. And eventually, that led to ultimate trust. Yes?
Okay, so clarify for me, because I doubt that your website had 30 specific pages geared to that when you're showing us all of the articles. Are those, which of those?
These were whatever floated their boat.
So when they went online and asked a question, that question, that
they would land on the article.
Post that went back to your website.
Yes.
So they kept coming back,
Some kept coming back. What is your name, by the way?
Lori.
Let me explain, Lori. Just hold a second. So for most people, it would mean that they would read the first article, and then they would start to read a bunch of stuff from that. They would get so interested, they'd say, oh, this looks interesting too. Oh, I like this video. Oh, let me see this. Oh, I'm going to download this big guide of how to buy a fiberglass pool. It's on and on. And lots of these people would come back again and again and again. Are you with me so far?
I am.
So am I still not answering the question?
I was trying to get, in a way, one of the questions that I wanted to get to is, were they staying on your site going through it itself? So like, for example...
Oh, is this 30 pages on our site? Yes.
No, is it in one city?
No, and that's not significant though. But that is not significant.
It is, and to me it is and it isn't. So what I was
Depends on the sales cycle. In other words, if something takes a year on average to buy, that person's going to come back again and again and again. If they're looking for a lawyer, oftentimes that happens within 48 hours, right? So first time on site, total time on site for first time on site is major if you have a law firm, right? But if you're a swimming pool company, it's a little bit different because generally speaking, it's a 6 to 12 month buying cycle.
And that's where the point I was trying to get to. So content, quality content was generating traffic based on what you had out there. You know that you have a long purchase cycle, so you have to do a lot of awareness and guiding people through that funnel. So you're answering a very important question, which in general, even though you're talking about answering questions, when it comes to generating content, people tend to be more reactive or thinking that they just need to build a website and one time it'll drive traffic and that'll turn into leads. And this piece of information is important because you know your buyers shopping, the length of time it takes for them to close. So that is important because you're generating content over a period of time. But once you knew that, now I have a second follow-up question. Because you understood your consumer, did you line up your pages so that it had the ability for somebody to click on similar interest articles? Similar interest?
Yes. Oh yeah. The whole site is designed for them for that. And usually, in fact, I don't have time to talk about it, but before we would go out to the house, we would send them 30 pages of content that we knew were the most powerful pieces of content that we had. So that we knew before every sales appointment, they would have already tipped that trust point. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Okay, final story on this. Okay, on this thing, and then we're going to close within the next 3 minutes. This is a real person, and this aligns exactly with what you were just talking about. His name is Bill Grizzard, real dude here. He filled out a form on our website. Okay, so this is what it looks like when they fill out a form. This is the lead intelligence we get. So Bill Grizzard comes to the site. He does an organic search. He uses Yahoo. That makes him weird, but we'll forgive him nonetheless. And he types in the phrase, cost of fiberglass pool. Yahoo shows him that article, how much does a fiberglass pool cost, and then something interesting happened next. What happened next? By the way, this says total page views if you can't see it. What happened next? He kept going. Like till when?
Till forever.
Till forever. He read what? 375 pages of the site. What in the world is wrong with Bill Grizzard, Mike? Go ahead and say it. He's retired, just like my man here in the front. But y'all, we brought Bill Grizzard today. Isn't that awesome? Okay, so.
I can't afford a pool.
Right. So you might say he's retired. You might say he's a competitor. You might say he's a stalker. But either way, we can all agree that this is unusual behavior. Would you say unusual behavior? I would say I would have said the same thing. But that same night, see this isn't done. That same night, I get another lead sheet. And this comes from Joni Grizzard. Bill has a wife named Joni. Joni Grizzard. She does an organic search on Yahoo. I did not know Yahoo families existed until these people right here. She types in Richmond, Virginia pools. She proceeds to read 149 pages of the site. So between these two people, how many pages of the website have they now read? 520 some pages.
Some of them are doubles.
Some are doubles. And if they read a page twice, what does it mean?
They didn't know where they were going.
It means that is a hot button for them and they care about it more than something else. And that's a very good sign.
Or they're bad at navigating the web.
Or they're just not really smart. But, my question for you is, what do you think that sales appointment was like?
Great.
Okay, I walk into the house. Bill Grizzard is standing in the living room with a spreadsheet in his hands. He has the pool he is getting. He has every option and accessory he's getting with it. And of course, all he needed from me was one little thing, which was the price. And so I walked out of the house 45 minutes later with a $5,000 deposit. And I started to drive away, and this was one of the last sales appointments I ever went on. And I started to laugh to myself because I realized how much selling had I done that day? None. Had he crossed 70%? Oh, he was more like 99.9. And that's when I realized that content, assuming it's honest and transparent, it's the greatest sales tool in the world. We sold 95 pools in 2013, and because of advanced analytics, we know the average number of pages that these 95 customers read. Can anybody guess what the average was? 30, you would think, but the average was 105. 105. If you had come to me 6 years ago and said, Marcus, do you realize your average customer would be willing to read over 100 pages of your website before they buy? What do you think I would have told you? You don't understand my industry. You don't understand my business. You don't understand my buyer. Some of you are still thinking that. I'm asking you to stop underestimating your buyer, your customer, and their willingness to trust you through the power of information. Final point, and then we're done. I shared this story one time at a conference in Dallas, and after I was done sharing that river pool story, this reporter from a newspaper comes up to me and he says, Marcus, this is so interesting. I think I want to do a story on it. And I said, sure, fine. I didn't think anything of it because generally newspapers don't get this stuff. We spoke for 90 minutes on the phone a few days later. And then a few days after that, he sent down a photographer to my swimming pool company. And then literally 4 days after that, on the cover of the small business section of the New York Times, appeared this article right here. And there's two ironies to this article. First irony is this. My goodness, that shirt makes me look fat. Since that time, I've upped my game. Okay. Second, and this is the serious one, seriously. Look at the title for a second. All revolutionary marketing strategy. Answer. Customers. Questions. Daggum. That's revolutionary.
So is this when you started your marketing business?
This day changed my life.
Yep.
Over the next 3 months, I literally got over 1,000 emails. 1,000 emails. This actually became, for the next 3 days, the #1 shared and emailed story for the business section of the Times. That Saturday, they reran it again because so many people wanted to talk about it and there was nothing special about it. And that's what all of these emails said. They all said one of two things. Somebody would say to me, Marcus, I read that story in the Times and my goodness, it was so simple what you did. Yes. Nothing complex here. You've heard nothing genius here. This is not Einstein. Second thing they said in all these emails, because they usually said one of two things. Second thing they said, Marcus, I feel like you've given me permission to do that which I have always felt we should be doing. And that's what I hope you feel today. I hope you feel empowered to be more honest, to be more transparent, to be a better teacher, to become the Wikipedia of your space. To be the go-to source when anybody in your industry has a question. And if you do this, and you don't base any decisions on anyone else, those competitors that mean nothing to you, and you solely base it on the consumer, I'm telling you, you're going to be ready for the next 10, 20, 100 years. Thank you very much. No, there's a Marcus at the sales line. You can email that, but the whole company gets that one. Thank you very much, buddy. Thank you very much.